Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is a little bit different. I don't have a couponing haul for you, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how I save money while couponing. I know that sounds really obvious, but what I really mean is how I save additional money while couponing. We're already getting some of the best deals by using coupons and shopping sales ads and using rebate apps. But on top of that money that we're saving, we can earn using credit cards. This topic might not be for everyone, but I personally am very much sort of a credit card enthusiast, and I learned how to manage my credit a long time ago when I was very young, right after ruining my credit pretty much immediately. And so I really love sharing the knowledge that I've gained over the years with others and showing you kind of sort of the benefits that are out there that I don't feel like get talked about too much. So to start, just a quick disclaimer. I'm not trying to give you any specific financial advice. Please research things on your own. Don't just listen to people on the internet. I'm a consumer just like you, and before acquiring any and all of the credit cards that I use and have today, I asked a lot of questions and did a lot of my own research. So the goal of today's video is to share with you some of my absolute favorite credit cards and the ways in which they help me to save money. Some of the cards I share with you will have referral links where I get back a bonus and you get a bonus if you end up applying for and getting approved for the credit card. But surprisingly, a number of them don't have referral links. So I'm sharing these with you because I think that they are genuinely the best credit cards for the very specific purposes that I outline in the video. Some background for me: I have 21 credit cards. I know, people are shocked whenever they hear it. Is your credit score super low? Are you in a lot of debt? No, I have zero debt, and my credit score is in the 800s, very close to perfect. And yes, I use all 21 credit cards every year. The reason I'm able to maintain essentially perfect credit and no debt is because I take using credit cards very seriously. As I mentioned before, I ruined my credit within a matter of 6 months with my first credit card, and it took me literal years to rebuild that credit. And in that time, I learned a lot about how to manage and use credit. One of the biggest lessons I learned and can share with you is to always, always, always pay your entire statement balance. Do not ever pay for something with a credit card that you could not pay cash for today. Immediately go home, log in, pay off the credit card after you use it. Ideally, you'll wait for the statement to close before paying it off because that has a better impact to your credit report. But I can talk a little bit more about that if you express interest in the comments that you want to hear more about that. That's not the point of this video. Just use credit cards responsibly. And now let's just get into the fun part where I share with you how I use credit cards to save even more money than I already do while couponing. Okay, so I've broken the categories up into couponing, gas, dining, groceries, and everything else. For all of these credit cards that we're going to look at together, I will leave links, referral or not, in the description below so you can go to the website, read a little bit more about the rewards and benefits, and see if it's something that might fit into your lifestyle. Let's start with couponing. So for couponing, I will never pay cash. I might use a gift card that I got from a rebate, but otherwise I'm using a credit card to earn a percentage back on whatever I paid while I'm couponing at CVS or Walgreens or Publix or anywhere else. There are a bunch of benefits to doing it this way, one being when you're using a credit card and getting a percentage back, you're somewhat offsetting the tax that you pay on some of the items that we get while couponing. I know we like to calculate our total cost and, our money makers, excluding the tax because it's different per state or even per city sometimes. But We all end up paying tax somewhere, and that really eats into our couponing budget. So paying with a credit card and getting 1, 2, or 3% back just helps us to save a little bit more of our couponing budget. I'll also quickly mention that when you pay with a single credit card for your couponing, it is so much easier to track your expenses. On most credit card websites, you can look at your expenses by category or even search by the vendor or store, and you can see everything you've spent within the month or the year or the quarter or whatever just on your couponing. So it just helps to keep you a little bit more accountable as well. One of my oldest and also one of my favorite credit cards to use while couponing, particularly at the drugstores, is this Barclays AARP credit card. Right off the bat, no, you do not need to be a member of AARP to apply and have this credit card. I am not and have never been a member of AARP. This is available through the Barclays website. You apply for it just like any other credit card. Because it's labeled AARP, I think it deters people from applying, but I've had this card for almost a decade at this point, and the reward structures have changed, but sometimes in our favor. So in this case, this card earns 3% cash back at all drugstores. Almost every card I'm going to talk about in this video also has a very generous sign-up bonus. So this AARP card has a $200 cashback bonus after you spend $1,000 within the first 3 months. The other benefits besides the 3% back at drugstores is that you also earn 3% back on gas. I'll talk about it in the gas category, but I wanted to point that out. You'll also earn 2% back if you use this card on medical expenses, and then every card I talk about will earn 1% or more back on everything else. As an example of how I might use this card, let me talk about my couponing habits. I coupon every week, once at CVS and once at Walgreens. Sometimes it's more, but generally I'm couponing all the weeks of the year, once at each store. I limit my out-of-pocket to somewhere between $30 and $35 per store, and I don't mean that that's what my total cost is. We know in the world of couponing, just because I spent $30 with my credit card swiping at the store, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to get $50 back from a rebate or an Activate Rewards promotion or something like that. So I'm not saying I'm actually spending $35, but I limit my charges to my credit card to $35 per store. Doing that over the many weeks in the year, I'm earning up to $100 in free money just by using this AARP credit card to pay for my couponing. That's amazing. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just using it to pay for things that I would have paid for already while couponing. And in a lot of circumstances, I'm actually earning that same cash that I charged back through rebate apps. I think this is a great card, pretty solid. The only downside that I don't like is you have to wait until you reach $25 in rewards to cash out. That's probably my least favorite part. But I've never had trouble cashing out at least 2 or 3 times throughout the year. Definitely go and check this one out. The second card I'll talk about in this category is from Chase Bank. It's called the Freedom Unlimited credit card, not to be confused with just the plain Freedom or the Freedom Rise. The Freedom Unlimited is very special. I love this card so much. I've also had it for a very long time. Not only does it give 3% back on drugstores, it also gives you 3% back on dining and 1.5% as opposed to 1% on literally everything else. Another really great feature right now is that the sign-up bonus is $250 for spending $500 within the first 3 months, which is much easier to achieve, I think, by paying a few bills with it, and the overall bonus is bigger. Something that I forgot to mention earlier on is that practically every card that I share with you today is going to have a 0% interest offer, at least for the first 12 months. Some of them go up to 15 months or 18 months, just depending on the terms that you get when you apply. So that's a really fantastic offer to take advantage of, especially if you have some big purchases coming up. I personally love taking advantage of 0% offers and using the money that I would have used to pay off the entire balance to invest instead. But again, if you want me to make more videos about personal finance and that sort of stuff, leave a comment down below. I do favor this card over the AARP card for two reasons. One, because of the 1.5% cashback that you can get on everything else outside of the 3% category. And also, when redeeming the rewards for this card, there is no minimum. So it's very easy to redeem your $3 or your $50 essentially whenever you want. So highly recommend this card specifically for couponing at drugstores and potentially for dining. Moving on to the next category, which is gas. The first card in this category that I'll talk about is the Wells Fargo Autograph. Quick reminder, I own every single one of the cards that I'm talking about in this video, and I think that the Wells Fargo Autograph is extremely underrated. I'm not sure why many people I talk to have never heard of it, but I have it and I love it, especially because it offers you 3% cash back on so many categories. You'll get 3% back on gas, which is the category we're talking about right now, but in addition to that, you'll get 3% back on restaurants, so dining, on phone plans, so if you pay your cell phone bill with a credit card, you'll get 3% back, and then rideshare like Uber and Lyft, and streaming services like Netflix and Hulu are also included in that 3% category, so it's very broad for a very underrated card. It can be a little confusing when credit cards choose to use points instead of percentages to describe their reward structure, but I'll tell you right now that when Wells Fargo says 20,000 bonus points, what they mean is $200 in cash back. So just like when they say 3 times the points or 1 times the point or whatever, just change the times to a percentage. It's the same. That is not the case for every card though, just specifically in the circumstances that I talk about in this video. Another note, you'll see that every card I've shown so far has a $0 annual fee. Some credit cards require you to make a payment each year in order to own the card and keep it active. Almost every card I show today will have a $0 annual fee. Only one of them will not, and I'll explain how that fee works. The next contender in the gas category is this American Express credit card called the Blue Cash Preferred. This is the only card that has an annual fee that we'll talk about. So to start, the annual fee is $95 a year, and I'll tell you why in a second. But for the first year, it's $0. So if you wanted to, you could apply for this card, pay no annual fee, claim the sign-up bonus, and use it for 12 months. And then at the 12-month mark, you could say, I don't want to pay for the annual fee, so I either want to change this card with something called a product change, or close this card and maybe get something else, or don't get something else. So there's no obligation to pay that annual fee once it finally hits. I personally keep this card regardless of the annual fee because 1, I think it's worth it, and 2, there are ways to work around the annual fee, but that would be information for another video. What I will say is that if I had to choose between this card and the Wells Fargo Autograph, specifically because I was looking for a cashback gas card, I'd probably go with the Autograph instead, or another option like the AARP. I'll talk more about why I keep this card and why I actually love it very much once we get to the grocery section. Third in this gas category lineup, we come back to the AARP card. Like I mentioned before, it does earn 3% back on gas as well. However, if you compare the 3 cards in this category, I still think the Wells Fargo Autograph would be a better gas card than the other 2. and that's specifically because you're more likely to use the Wells Fargo card on other things that also provide 3% cash back. Otherwise, all three are fine gas cards. Moving into dining and restaurants. This category is always interesting to discuss with people because it seems like either people lean toward a credit card that gives you a lot of cash back in this category or in the other category, which is groceries. So I guess it really just depends on your eating habits. Thankfully, our first card in this category addresses both. This card is from Capital One Bank, and it is the Saver Rewards. Not to be confused with another credit card offered by Capital One that is also called Saver, but it has an annual fee. This card has no annual fee. It offers 3% back at restaurants and on dining, and it also happens to offer 3% back on groceries. So you get the best of both worlds, whether you like to eat in or eat out. There's also a very generous $250 sign-up bonus when you spend $500 within the first 3 months. This is another card that does not require you to have a minimum amount of cash back before you can redeem it. So at any point you can redeem your 50 cents or your $50 that you have sitting in your rewards account, which I really love. Next up, we see our old friend, the Chase Freedom Unlimited, return to this category. It also offers 3% back on restaurants and dining. However, in my opinion, this card is better to have, specifically because it offers 3% back on a broader range of categories, and redeeming rewards is just as easy with no real minimum, and the sign-up bonus is the same. I enjoy both credit cards. This would be a situation where I would recommend going to both websites and looking at the other benefits that those card companies provide and making a decision about whether you want this card for your dining purposes based on that information. But again, both great cards and great benefits. It's just up to you and your lifestyle. Our next category is groceries, which I love. Is it weird that I love grocery shopping so much? It's so much fun, couponing at Publix. And having this first credit card makes it even more fun. I have a lot to say about the American Express Blue Cash Preferred. As you probably heard earlier, it does have an annual fee, but I very happily hold on to it, and I've held on to this card for I think nearly a decade at this point. I have product changed it a couple of times by downgrading to the Blue Cash Everyday, which is almost the exact same card, but it has no annual fee and the cash back rewards are just a little bit less. Despite that, I always end up upgrading back to this Blue Cash Preferred because it's so good when it comes to spending money on groceries. I can go on basically forever about the reasons why I love this card, but I'll try my best to keep it to the point. The reward structure is here. You get 6% cash back at grocery stores. That does not include Walmart or Target or any wholesale clubs like Costco or Sam's Club. It has to be a grocery store like Publix or Ralph's or Wegmans or Kroger or whatever is in your area that counts as a grocery store. I easily spend $4,000 or more per year at Publix, at the grocery store, and that yields me over $200 in cash back, subtracting the annual fee. So that's after the annual fee. On top of that, American Express does this awesome thing where it provides Amex offers to each account, whether you have this preferred card or the non-annual fee card. You can go through those offers and add them to your card to earn additional cash back by meeting the terms of the offer. So for example, I recently had $10 in cash back just for paying my insurance bill, any type of insurance bill, with this credit card. So I renewed my home insurance, I paid with my American Express card, and I got $10 in addition to the everyday 1% cashback that I already earn. 6% cashback is the highest percentage back I have ever seen for groceries on any credit card. If you know of one that gives back a higher yield, then please leave it down in the comments below. I would love to know about it. But I should mention that earning 3% cashback on groceries is also very, very good. So the card that's a sibling to this card with no annual fee is called the Blue Cash Everyday. I don't have a referral link to that one, but if you're not interested in paying an annual fee ever, that's a really good option as well, because you still have access to the offers and you still have access to the 3% cashback on groceries, as well as the 3% back on gas. That does not change with the no annual fee card. So both very good options. I love this one for groceries. I use it every single week and I've used it for years. So another one on my highly recommend list. Another option that we discussed before, and that is outside of the American Express family of cards, is the Capital One Saver that we just talked about in the dining category. So like I mentioned, it has 3% cash back on groceries as well. So if your two most important spend categories in your life are restaurants and groceries, then the Saver might be a much better fit for you. Before we move on to the next category, I did want to point something out. If you're not a big spender on gas or groceries or whatever category we're talking about, it really doesn't make sense for you to maintain a credit card just because of that category. Just because the Blue Cash Preferred sounds really good for someone else, really take a moment to examine your lifestyle and decide if it makes sense for you to get it, to waste a credit pull on applying for that credit card, especially if you don't plan to use it. I have way more credit cards than the average person, which is why I'm bringing you this content. I don't think people should have 21 credit cards per person. It's a hobby of mine. I'm really, really into it, and I've been into it for over a decade. I think that it's smart for people to have 1 or 2 credit cards that they use all the time and are maximizing their rewards and their money by using those credit cards. I love to see people succeed, especially when prices of things are so high right now. Credit card companies want you to fail. They want you to forget to pay your balance or use a credit card when you really don't have the cash to pay it off, so that they can collect interest from you over long periods of time, making your bank account empty. I want to show people how they can beat the system. Use credit cards to your advantage and add money to your bank account. Don't let the banks and the credit card companies win. If you are really not the person that this content is for, if you should not have a credit card because you may not handle it responsibly enough, please click off of this video. I want this to be informational and helpful. At any point, if anything is unclear or was unclear, please leave questions in the comments below. I will answer them, and I'm happy to make more videos talking about more credit card stuff or personal finance in general. Just tell me what you want to know. Okay, off my soapbox I go. This last category is shopping, like online shopping or in-person shopping, and just general expenses. So like random purchases at an amusement park, things like that. The first credit card I would put in this category is from Bank of America. It's great because it's virtually a 3% cashback card, but you choose what the 3% category is. I think there are 8 different choices, so one of them is online shopping, which covers the entirety of shopping online. Another one is drugstores, so you can make it a 3% drugstore card if you want. Another is gas, another is home improvement, and I can't remember the others, but again, I'll leave the link below so you can read all of the offer information for this credit card. the biggest benefit is that you can change what your 3% category is every month. So it's virtually whatever you feel like spending money on that month, go ahead and change your 3% category. What I've done in the past is if I have a big home improvement project, I will change the category to home improvement, go purchase all of my supplies and tools and things from Home Depot or Lowe's, and get 3% cash back on it. The next month, I might want to earn 3% back on some big shopping that I'm about to do. So it's very flexible as far as what your 3% category is. Note that it is limited, I think, to 8 different categories. So definitely read through those categories and see if they fit within what you would want to be earning 3% cash back on. Similar to all the cards that we've covered so far, there is a very nice $200 cashback bonus after you spend $1,000 in the first 3 months. So a little additional money in your pocket just for applying and getting approved and then meeting the terms of the spend requirement. This next card is one of my newer credit cards. I've had it for a little over a year and I'm still getting used to it. It is the Venmo credit card. So if you're familiar with Venmo, it's a banking app that lets you send money to different people using their phone numbers or email addresses, very similar to PayPal or Zelle. The way that this reward structure works is you'll charge your purchases to this card, and whatever category that you've charged the most purchases to gets the 3% cash back. Now, this can be a little bit tricky, but say you're using this credit card for all of your purchases, but you spend the most on eating out. All of your eating out purchases will earn 3% cash back, and then your second most purchases will get 2% cash back, and then everything else will get 1% cash back. Like I mentioned, I'm still figuring out the best way to use this card, but that's because I want to optimize it. So what I've done so far is use it on a singular category of item. So I used it at a conference I went to that is very expensive, and I spent lots of money at the conference, but because that was the only place that I used it, I automatically earned 3% back for everything I spent. The charges that I made at that conference venue wouldn't have counted toward any other category on any other of my credit cards. So this card was actually perfect for that event because I made 3% cash back on everything. It was the only merchant, the only place I was spending a bunch of money at. Going forward, I think a more realistic use of this card would be Walmart or wholesale clubs, because those generally get excluded from grocery spend categories. This would be a great card to use at those places, particularly Walmart for couponing. So that's what I'm going to start to do and see if that pays off using this credit card. So definitely has a lot of potential as a general spend card, but I would only pick one category at a time to use it on. I should also mention there is no sign-up bonus for this card, one of the very few that doesn't have one. So it's not necessarily in like my top cards, but super interesting, and it might be worth checking out, especially if you already use Venmo. You do need to have an existing Venmo account to apply for it. The last card in this category is Citibank's Double Cash card. So its premise is that you earn 2% cash back, 1% when you make the purchase, and 1% when you pay for the purchase. It's pretty straightforward. There is no sign-up bonus on this card either. If you really just can't be bothered with looking at credit card points or thinking about categories whatsoever, and you just need a credit card where you want to earn cash back, I would say that this is the card for you. It's very simple, very straightforward. You know you're getting 2% on whatever you spend. It does not matter. And you can redeem the rewards basically whenever you want. So there is no minimum redemption amount that I know of on Citi's redemption portal either. I like to use this card at BJ's, which is a wholesale club, because it doesn't count as a grocery store, and so I'm still earning at least 2% back. It's a little bit more difficult to pick from this category which one I favor the most. I think it would be the Bank of America customized cash card, mostly because I like being able to switch and earn that higher 3% value basically each month. Whereas the Venmo credit card, it just really depends on what you're spending, and then the Citi Double Cash is capped at 2%. Another benefit is that the Bank of America card has a sign-up bonus, whereas the other two do not, unless you get very specifically targeted offers. Unfortunately, I don't have a referral link to share for any of them, so you'd have to either check mailers or check your email to see if you can get some kind of sign-up bonus on Venmo or Citibank cards. Okay, so what's the verdict? After talking all kinds of credit card rewards and benefits and bonuses and things like that, which card or cards would I pick if I had to limit them? I would not recommend you applying for all of them, absolutely not. But of all these cards, I do think some are much more practical than others. So for me personally, if I had to choose one or two of the cards that I've talked about in this video, I'd go with my all-time favorite, the Blue Cash Preferred, with the annual fee and the 6% cashback on groceries and 3% cashback on gas. And then I'd go with the Chase Freedom Unlimited, which also has 3% cashback, but on dining and drugstores. For me, that covers essentially everything I spend my money on, particularly because the Chase Freedom Unlimited has 1.5% cashback on everything else. It's no double cash, so it's not 2% on everything else, but because I'd only have to hold this one card to cover a majority of my expenses, I'd rather get the 3% on categories I know I spend more on, like couponing at drugstores, and then accept the 1.5% on the few purchases that I make randomly on any other category. I also wouldn't be mad at the combo of the Blue Cash Every Day that gets 3% back at grocery stores and 3% back at gas stations, but with no annual fee, alongside the Chase Freedom Unlimited that has 3% back at the categories we already talked about. That would also be a great no annual fee 2 credit card combination. Before I end the video, I wanted to talk about 2 more things. One is pre-qualifications. So not all credit card pre-qualifications are actually accurate. The ones that are accurate, I will list for you in the description box below. I would only trust those and not any others. Even if a banking website offers one, a lot of the time it's more so for marketing and getting you to apply, thus ending in a credit card denial and, you're upset because it was never really accurate in the first place. The ones I list below are pretty reliable. I've used them in the past to be approved for credit cards. What I really like to do is go look at my pre-qualifications, and if there's a card listed and recommended by the bank, then I know it's very, very likely that I'll be approved for that card, whether I apply through the pre-approval or apply through something like a referral link where I might be able to get a bigger sign-up bonus. So definitely use those tools to your advantage. Don't believe all of them because some of them are just marketing. The other thing I wanted to mention is that some credit card companies now will tell you whether or not they're going to approve you for a credit card, not like a pre-qualification. They will do a soft inquiry and say, if you apply right now, you will be approved. So American Express does this and Venmo does this. I'm not sure if there are other banks in that list right now, but it's fantastic because you know right off the bat whether or not you're going to incur a credit pull that ends in a denial. And if you are not going to be approved for a card, those banks have made it much easier for you to say, okay, let me not apply for it and hurt my credit for no reason. I've been asked before whether or not there are credit cards you can apply for with no impact to your credit score or no credit pull. The short answer is no. There is a much longer maybe answer, but for the most part, expect that you're going to receive a hard pull on one or more credit reports if you apply for a credit card. The last thing I'll talk about is rebuilding credit. Let's say you don't have a good enough credit score to get a credit card right now or to be approved for a credit card. I've been in that position and I've helped other people in that position in my life. If you want me to talk about some credit cards that are out there, like secured credit cards that can help you to rebuild your credit, please leave a comment down below. Do not apply for credit cards and hurt your credit score further if you're already in a lot of debt, or you already have many pulls on your credit report, or if your credit score is below average. Just be smart with your own credit profile and just with your finances in general. I know that we don't get this kind of financial education in US school systems, at least not in a widespread way. So certainly ask questions, don't be afraid to talk about finances, and protect yourself. I've earned thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in credit card rewards because I've been so meticulous about deciding which credit cards to add to my wallet and when I want my credit to be pulled when I'm applying. Combining credit cards with couponing and saving money has just been the ultimate cheat code for me. I'm happy to be able to share just the tiniest sliver of this kind of stuff with you guys. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, list them down below. Everything that I referenced will be in the description box. And thanks for watching. Bye!